The hidden secrets of one of the most extraordinary animals on Earth. Imagine a creature so powerful that almost nothing in the forest wants to challenge it. Yet gentle enough to spend hours quietly picking tiny berries from a bush. A creature whose heart can slow dramatically for months, whose body can survive an entire winter without eating normally, and whose muscles can remain remarkably preserved after a period of inactivity that would severely weaken a human being. Imagine an animal that can detect a world of smells almost invisible to us. Remember places across enormous territories, swim 4 miles, run with astonishing speed, move stones, tear apart logs, climb trees, catch fish, and then carefully guide tiny, helpless cubs through their first months of life. We know this creature by a very simple name, the bear. But there is nothing simple about a bear. And the more scientists discover about these animals, the stranger and more impressive they become. Because beneath the fur, claws, and immense physical strength is a biological system filled with remarkable solutions. Solutions for surviving cold. Solutions for finding food. Solutions for raising young. Solutions for navigating enormous landscapes. Solutions for surviving months when almost nothing is available to eat. And some of what happens inside a bear's body is so extraordinary that scientists study it in hopes of understanding things that could one day help human medicine. But there is an even deeper question. If a single creature contains this much complexity, this much power, this much adaptation, this much hidden wisdom, what does it tell us about the world in which we live? And for those who believe that life is the work of a creator, the bear invites another question. What can the creature reveal about the one who created it? Stay with me, because the deeper we go into the life of the bear, the more extraordinary the story becomes. And one of the greatest mysteries begins when winter arrives. The giant of the forest. When most people think about a bear, they think about strength, and for good reason. A large brown bear can possess an enormous body packed with muscle. Look closely at the shoulders of a grizzly or brown bear, and you may notice the prominent muscular hump. That structure is connected to extraordinary digging strength. A bear can use its powerful front limbs to move earth, tear apart rotten wood, uncover roots, search for insects, excavate dens, and move objects that would require tremendous effort for a human. Its claws are extraordinary tools. But notice something important. The bear's body is not simply designed or, from a biological perspective, adapted for one task. It is astonishingly versatile. Those same paws that can tear into the earth can manipulate surprisingly small objects. A bear capable of tremendous force may gently pluck berries. It can overturn stones and then investigate what is underneath with extraordinary attention. This combination is one of the first remarkable things about bears. Power and precision exist in the same body, and their strength can sometimes make us forget just how fast they can be. A bear may look heavy. It may appear slow when walking calmly across a meadow, but that appearance is deceptive. Several bear species can run at speeds that would easily outrun a human over short distances. In other words, the massive body you see walking slowly through the grass contains explosive power. This is why wildlife experts repeatedly warn people never to assume they can simply run away from a bear. But speed is only one ability. Some bears are excellent climbers. Many are capable swimmers. Polar bears are especially impressive in the water and can travel considerable distances through Arctic seas. Others are skilled diggers. Some are extraordinary fishers. And throughout the bear family, we see the same fascinating principle. The basic body plan of a bear has been adapted to radically different worlds. Forest, mountain, coastline, temperate woodland, bamboo forest, frozen Arctic sea ice. One family of animals and an astonishing variety of ways to live. But strength is not the bear's most remarkable ability. To discover that, we have to enter a world we humans barely understand. The world of scent. A world humans cannot smell. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through a forest. What tells you where you are? You hear birds. You feel the temperature. You see trees. You notice sunlight passing through leaves. You may smell wet earth, flowers, pine needles, or smoke. For humans, vision dominates much of our understanding of the world. But imagine that your sense of smell suddenly became vastly more important. Imagine that every breeze carried information. Not simply, there is a smell, but something passed here. Food is somewhere in that direction. Another bear has been here. There may be danger nearby. There may be an animal beyond what the eye can see. This begins to give us some idea of the sensory world of the bear. Bears possess an extraordinarily developed sense of smell. The exact distances over which a bear can detect particular odors depend on wind, terrain, humidity, the strength of the odor, and many other factors. So dramatic claims about a fixed number of miles should always be treated cautiously. But one fact is beyond doubt. Smell is enormously important to a bear. Its nose helps it locate food, recognize other bears, identify reproductive signals, detect danger, investigate unfamiliar objects, and understand what has happened in its environment. Think about the implication. You and a bear could stand in exactly the same forest at exactly the same moment, and yet experience two completely different informational worlds. You may see nothing unusual. The bear may detect a story carried on the wind. Something walked here. Something died there. Food is nearby. Another animal passed through hours earlier. The forest contains layers of information that your senses simply cannot reveal to you. And suddenly we realize something profound. Human perception is not the measure of everything that exists. There are sounds beyond our hearing, light beyond our vision, chemical signals we cannot interpret, magnetic fields some animals appear able to use, vibrations beneath the ground, entire channels of information operating around us every day. Creation is larger than the small window through which humans perceive it, and the bear is one reminder of that hidden world. But as extraordinary as its senses are, the bear's greatest biological mystery may begin when the forest becomes silent, when food disappears, when snow covers the ground, and when the bear enters the darkness. The great winter mystery. Winter is unforgiving. For a large animal, staying alive requires enormous amounts of energy. Every heartbeat costs energy. Every movement costs energy. Maintaining body temperature costs energy. And yet in many northern environments, winter dramatically reduces the amount of available food. So how does an animal weighing hundreds of pounds survive? The answer is one of the most remarkable physiological transformations in the mammalian world. Before winter, bears can enter a period of intense feeding. They consume large amounts of food and build substantial fat reserves. Then, depending on species, climate, sex, reproductive status, and local conditions, many bears enter dens and reduce their activity for months. People commonly call this hibernation. Bear hibernation is particularly fascinating because it differs in several ways. From the deep hibernation of small mammals, the bear's body temperature does not fall nearly as dramatically as that of some smaller hibernators, yet its metabolism decreases substantially. Its heart rate can slow dramatically. Its activity almost disappears. The animal may spend months without normal feeding. Think carefully about that. A huge mammal enters a dark den. No refrigerator, no regular meals, no daily water source, no exercise routine, no sunlight, and somehow the body's chemistry shifts into a survival mode, capable of carrying the animal through winter. But now comes the part that has fascinated researchers. If a human spent months almost completely inactive, the consequences could be severe. Muscle mass would decline, bones could weaken, the cardiovascular system would undergo major changes. Yet bears have biological mechanisms that allow them to preserve muscle and bone far better than humans would under comparable inactivity. Their bodies recycle and conserve resources with remarkable efficiency. This is one reason researchers have been interested in bear physiology. Could understanding these mechanisms one day teach us more about muscle preservation, bone loss, kidney function, metabolism, long duration inactivity? These questions are still being studied, but simply consider the biological challenge the bear has solved. The body must slow down without shutting down. It must conserve energy without destroying itself. It must use stored fat while protecting essential tissues. It must endure months of near immobility and still be capable of returning to active life. And then, when winter ends, the animal emerges. Weak compared with autumn, certainly. Lighter, hungry, but alive. The machine starts moving again. The bear walks back into the world. And perhaps even more astonishingly, for some bears, winter is not only a period of survival, it is the season when new life begins. A baby born beneath the snow. Imagine the scene. Above the ground, a winter storm moves through the forest. Snow falls between the trees. Temperatures plunge. The landscape appears almost lifeless. But beneath the snow, inside the darkness of a den, something extraordinary is happening. A female bear gives birth, and the contrast between mother and cub is remarkable. A large female bear may weigh hundreds of pounds. Her newborn cubs are tiny by comparison. They are vulnerable. Their eyes are closed. They are dependent. They cannot survive alone. Yet they are born into one of the harshest seasons of the year. Why? Because the den has become a protected world. The mother provides warmth. She provides milk. She provides protection. While the forest above is locked in winter, life develops quietly beneath it. Think about the mother herself. She entered the den, carrying the energy reserves that must sustain not only her, but in some cases her offspring as well. She must remain alive. She must produce milk. She must maintain enough warmth. She must protect the cubs. And then, months later, the family emerges into spring. Tiny cubs look out at the world for the first time. Trees, sunlight, wind, birds, smells, water, food, danger. Everything is new. And now another extraordinary process begins. Learning. Because a bear cub is not simply born, knowing every detail necessary for survival. Its mother becomes its teacher. The school of the forest. A young bear must learn an enormous amount. Where can food be found? Which plants are edible? Where are fish available? Which places are dangerous? How should it react to other bears? Where can it rest? How does it move through difficult terrain? What does the sense of danger mean? Some of this behavior is instinctive, but learning and experience also matter. The cub follows its mother through an enormous living classroom. Every river becomes a lesson. Every tree becomes information. Every unfamiliar smell becomes something to investigate. Every dangerous encounter can become knowledge that may later save its life. Mother bears are famous for defending their cubs, and that reputation exists for good reason. But motherhood in bears is much richer than the dramatic images of a mother charging a threat. Motherhood is months and sometimes years of investment, protection, nursing, guidance, learning, watching, following, correcting, survival knowledge being transferred from one generation to another. And here we encounter another beautiful contrast. The enormous animal that appears terrifying to us becomes a source of warmth and security to a tiny cub. The same powerful paws that can rip open a log can rest beside a fragile newborn. Strength becomes protection. Power becomes responsibility. And perhaps there is something deeply meaningful in that, because true strength is not always revealed by what it can destroy. Sometimes its highest expression is what it chooses to protect. But the cub is learning from a surprisingly intelligent animal. And bear intelligence is another part of the story that is often underestimated. The school of the forest. A young bear must learn an enormous amount. Where can food be found? Which plants are edible? Where are fish available? Which places are dangerous? How should it react to other bears? Where can it rest? How does it move through difficult terrain? What does the sense of danger mean? Some of this behavior is instinctive, but learning and experience also matter. The cub follows its mother through an enormous living classroom. Every river becomes a lesson. Every tree becomes information. Every unfamiliar smell becomes something to investigate. Every dangerous encounter can become knowledge that may later save its life. Mother bears are famous for defending their cubs, and that reputation exists for good reason. But motherhood in bears is much richer than the dramatic images of a mother charging a threat. Motherhood is months and sometimes years of investment, protection, nursing, guidance, learning, watching, following, correcting, survival knowledge being transferred from one generation to another. And here we encounter another beautiful contrast. The enormous animal that appears terrifying to us becomes a source of warmth and security to a tiny cub. The same powerful paws that can rip open a log can rest beside a fragile newborn. Strength becomes protection, power becomes responsibility, and perhaps there is something deeply meaningful in that, because true strength is not always revealed by what it can destroy. Sometimes its highest expression is what it chooses to protect. But the cub is learning from a surprisingly intelligent animal, and bear intelligence is another part of the story that is often underestimated. The incredible memory of place. Think about the scale of a wild bear's world. Humans remember roads because we have signs, maps, buildings, addresses, and GPS. A bear has none of these, yet it may move through enormous areas and return to important feeding grounds season after season. It must recognize landscapes, remember scent patterns, follow waterways, know mountain passes, locate food sources, avoid dangerous areas, and adapt when conditions change. Imagine having a map not on your phone, but inside your memory. A map made from smell, landforms, experience, sound, season, and instinct. For animals living in seasonal environments, memory can mean survival. A forgotten food source is not merely inconvenient. It can mean losing precious calories before winter. A forgotten danger can mean death. So once again, the bear teaches us that physical strength alone is not enough. Muscle may dominate our first impression, but behind that muscle is an information processing system constantly interpreting the environment. The bear survives with its body and with its mind. And one of the most fascinating examples of this intelligence appears near flowing water. The giant that lives on tiny berries. Imagine a huge bear walking through a meadow. Massive head, powerful jaws, long claws, hundreds of pounds of muscle. You might expect it to be searching constantly for large prey. Instead, it lowers its head and begins eating berries, one after another, after another, after another. Depending on species and habitat, plant material can form a large part of a bear's diet. Berries, roots, grasses, nuts, seeds, fruits. Bears may also eat insects, fish, mammals, carrion, and many other foods. They are extraordinary opportunists, and this dietary flexibility is one reason bears have been able to inhabit such different environments. But think about what it means for a large bear to obtain meaningful calories from berries. One berry contains very little energy compared with the needs of such a large body. So when berries are abundant, the bear must consume enormous numbers of them. It may spend hours after our feeding, and suddenly we see another lesson. Not every great result comes from one dramatic action. Sometimes survival is built from thousands of tiny actions repeated patiently. One berry seems insignificant. Thousands matter. Nature is filled with this principle. A forest is built one tree at a time. A river is formed from countless drops. A body is sustained by countless microscopic processes. And an enormous bear may prepare for winter, partly through the accumulation of tiny mouthfuls. But if the brown bear seems extraordinary, travel north, far beyond ordinary forests, onto the sea ice, and meet a bear that appears almost impossible. Why a powerful bear does not want every fight. A wild bear may be physically formidable, but strength does not make injury irrelevant. Imagine life without medical care. A broken tooth matters. An injured leg matters. An infected wound matters. A damaged eye matters. An animal that cannot feed efficiently may die. So for wild animals, unnecessary fighting can be a terrible strategy. This is one reason many encounters between animals involve warnings, pastures, avoidance, or retreat rather than immediate physical combat. The purpose is often not to prove bravery. The purpose is survival. Humans sometimes misunderstand this because we associate strength with domination. Nature often reveals another version of strength. Strength can mean knowing when not to fight. A bear may leave. A bear may avoid a threat. A bear may communicate before escalating, and perhaps there is wisdom even here. The strongest creature in the forest does not need to spend every moment proving that it is strong. True power can exist quietly. Why does a bear stand on two legs? There is another behavior that humans often misunderstand. A bear rises onto its hind legs. Suddenly it looks enormous. To a frightened human, the meaning seems obvious. It is preparing to attack, but that is not necessarily what is happening. Standing upright can help a bear investigate its surroundings. It may be trying to see better, or smell better, or simply understand what is in front of it. That terrifying posture may actually mean, "What are you?" rather than, "I am attacking you." This is an important reminder. Fear can distort interpretation. When we do not understand an animal, we often fill the empty space with imagination. Knowledge does not eliminate appropriate caution. Bears are powerful wild animals and must always be respected. But knowledge can replace mythology with understanding. And understanding allows us to appreciate the animal without turning it into either a monster or a toy. Because a bear is neither. It is a wild creature with its own purposes, instincts, limits, and place within creation. The paw, an engineering masterpiece. Look closely at a bear's paw. At first it may simply look huge, but think about everything the paw must accomplish. It supports a massive body. It grips uneven ground. It absorbs force while running. It digs. It manipulates objects. It can assist in swimming. In some species, it aids climbing. And in polar bears, the large paws are particularly well suited for moving over snow and through water. Then look at the claws. Different bear species have claws suited to different lifestyles. Brown bears possess long claws useful for digging. Black bears tend to be excellent climbers and have claws well suited to that lifestyle. Polar bear claws help provide traction on ice and assist in holding prey. The paw is not merely a foot. It is a multi-purpose biological tool, and this principle appears everywhere in creation. Look at an eagle's talons, a camel's feet, a horse's hoof, a gecko's toes, a mole's digging limbs, a human hand. Every structure tells a story. Anatomy reveals function, and function reveals the demands of a creature's world. The deeper we examine life, the more difficult it becomes to call anything simple. Even a paw contains an entire lesson. A body that knows the seasons. One of the most astonishing characteristics of bears is how deeply their bodies respond to seasonal change. Autumn is not simply colder than summer. For a bear preparing to den, autumn represents a biological deadline. The body must accumulate energy. Behavior changes. Feeding intensifies. Fat reserves grow. Then winter comes. Metabolism shifts. Spring arrives. Activity returns. Food becomes increasingly available. Mothers emerge with cubs. Summer brings different feeding opportunities. Then the cycle begins again. Imagine carrying a biological calendar inside your body. No clock on the wall, no written date, no message announcing. Winter begins in 3 weeks, yet changes in daylight, temperature, food availability, hormones, and internal biological rhythms guide the animal. And the same is true throughout nature. Birds migrate, trees lose their leaves, flowers open, animals reproduce at particular times, fish migrate, insects emerge. Life is filled with timing. And timing matters because doing the correct thing at the wrong time may be useless. A bear does not wait until the deepest part of winter to begin preparing for winter. Preparation comes before crisis. Perhaps there is another lesson for us here. Nature survives partly because it responds to seasons before the season becomes impossible to ignore. The bear's heart. Inside that enormous chest is an organ working continuously from birth until death. The heart. During active seasons, it supports movement, feeding, running, climbing, swimming, fighting, and exploration. But during denning, The cardiovascular system undergoes dramatic changes. Heart rate can fall significantly. The entire organism begins conserving energy. Yet the heart never forgets its purpose. It continues, beat after beat, slowly, quietly. Hidden beneath fur inside a den beneath winter snow, the rhythm continues. There is something deeply beautiful in that image. Life continuing where no human eye can see it. And when spring arrives, that rhythm accelerates again. The animal rises. It steps from darkness into light. And an entire physiological system changes gear. No engineer arrives to restart it. No technician reconnects the system. The body already knows. For a believer, moments like this naturally produce wonder. Because we can describe the hormones. We can measure the heart rate. We can study metabolism. We can identify molecules. And all of that scientific knowledge is valuable. But describing how something happens does not make it less astonishing. If anything, the details often increase the wonder. Science does not have to destroy wonder. Sometimes people speak as though science and wonder are enemies, as though learning how a creature works somehow removes the mystery. But consider the bear. Imagine knowing nothing about hibernation. You see a bear enter a den and emerge months later. That seems remarkable. Now learn about the metabolic changes, the preservation of muscle, the shifts in heart rate, the use of fat reserves, the hormonal regulation, the physiological adjustments occurring throughout the body. Has the bear become less amazing? Or more? Knowledge can remove superstition, but it does not have to remove all. Sometimes understanding the mechanism reveals how extraordinary the mechanism actually is. The same is true throughout creation. You can learn exactly how an eye focuses light and still be amazed that vision exists. You can understand how bird wings generate lift and still marvel at flight. You can study the chemistry of a seed and still stand amazed when a tree emerges from the ground. And you can study bear physiology for an entire lifetime and still ask, why is the living world filled with such remarkable systems? For Christians, science can become not a replacement for wonder, but another way of looking more closely at God's workmanship. As the Bible says in Psalm 104:24, how many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them, all the earth is full of your creatures. Notice the words, in wisdom. When we look at the bear, we see strength. But when we look deeper, we begin to see systems, timing, balance, adaptation, relationships, restraint, protection, and complexity hidden beneath simplicity. The bear is not alone. A bear does not exist separately from the world around it. It walks through forests shaped by countless generations of plants. It drinks from rivers supported by rainfall and watersheds. It feeds on fruits produced through relationships between plants, soil, insects, fungi, sunlight, and water. It may eat salmon that grew in the ocean. It may disperse seeds after eating fruit. It may disturb soil while digging. It may leave remains that feed scavengers. It influences other animals simply by being present. Every creature exists inside relationships, and perhaps this is one of the greatest lessons of ecology. Life is not simply a collection of individuals. It is a web. Remove one strand and others may change. Increase one population and others respond. Change a river and the forest may feel it. Change the forest and the bear may feel it. Change the climate and seasonal food availability can shift. Everything is connected more deeply than it first appears, and humans are part of this system too. We sometimes imagine ourselves standing outside nature, observing it. But we breathe oxygen produced through biological processes. We drink water moving through planetary cycles. We eat plants and animals. Our lives depend every second upon a world we did not create. Perhaps the bear reminds us that creation is not simply scenery placed around humanity. It is a community of life. What would the forest look like without the bear? This is an interesting question because large animals can influence ecosystems in complicated ways. Bears eat fruits and may transport seeds. They dig into soil. They consume animals. They compete with other predators and scavengers. They transport nutrients. Their presence can influence the behavior of other creatures. The precise ecological role varies by species and location, but the broader principle is powerful. A large animal changes its environment simply by living in it. Every footprint matters. Every meal creates consequences. Every movement connects one place with another. And once again we discover that the bear is not merely standing in the forest. It participates in the forest. Perhaps creation is less like a museum filled with individual exhibits and more like a symphony. Every instrument has a different sound. Remove enough instruments, and eventually the music changes. The bear and the human heart. Why have bears occupied such a powerful place in human imagination? For thousands of years, people across different cultures have respected, feared, hunted, painted, carved, studied, and told stories about bears. Perhaps part of the reason is obvious. The bear is familiar enough to remind us of ourselves. It can stand upright. It walks on the soles of its feet in a way that can appear strangely human. Mothers care deeply for their young. Bears can investigate objects with obvious curiosity, and yet they are different enough to remind us that the wilderness belongs to lives beyond our own. A bear walking through the forest carries no money, owns no house, reads no book, builds no city. It does not know the name we have given its species, and yet it possesses abilities we do not. It knows a world of scent we can barely imagine. It survives winters in ways our bodies cannot. It navigates landscapes without roads. It knows when seasons are changing without consulting a calendar. So who is more advanced? That question itself may be wrong. Human beings possess capacities animals do not. Animals possess capacities humans do not. Creation is not a single ladder where every creature must compete to become more human. It is a world of extraordinary diversity, and that diversity should produce humility. Something we have forgotten. Modern life can make creation feel distant. We wait beside screens, travel inside vehicles, work inside buildings, buy food already packaged, use artificial light long after sunset, control indoor temperature, navigate by satellite, and slowly it becomes possible to forget how astonishing the living world really is. A bear cannot forget. Its entire life depends on attention. Weather matters, season matters, smell matters, water matters, food matters, darkness matters, cold matters. The bear is constantly responding to realities modern humans often hide from. And perhaps that is why wild animals affect us so deeply. When we see a bear walking through an untouched landscape, something inside us remembers. The world is bigger than our schedules, older than our cities, more complex than our technology, and filled with life that does not exist for our entertainment. Look closer. So now, return to the bear we imagined at the beginning. At first you saw a powerful animal. Now look again. Look at the shoulders and remember the immense muscles that allow it to dig. Look at the paws and remember how many different tasks they perform. Look at the nose and imagine the invisible landscape of scent flowing through the air. Look at the eyes and remember the memory and learning hidden behind them. Look at a mother and her cubs and remember months of protection, milk, teaching, and sacrifice. Look at a bear entering its den and think about the transformation happening inside its body. Its metabolism changes. Its heart slows. Stored fat becomes life. Muscle is remarkably preserved. Winter passes, and then spring comes. Look at a polar bear crossing Arctic ice. Look at a panda holding bamboo with its specialized wrist structure. Look at a sun bear climbing through tropical trees. Look at a brown bear catching salmon. Look at a black bear searching a forest for fruit and nuts. One family, 8 living species, countless individual animals, each experiencing the world from a perspective completely different from ours. And then ask yourself, how many extraordinary things surround us every day that we no longer notice? The deepest lesson, perhaps the greatest mystery of the bear is not hibernation. It is not its sense of smell. It is not its strength. It is not its intelligence. The greatest mystery may simply be that something this extraordinary exists at all. We have become accustomed to life, and because we are accustomed to it, we often mistake familiarity for simplicity. A bear seems ordinary because bears have always existed in our world. A tree seems ordinary because we have seen thousands. A bird seems ordinary because birds fly above us every day. But imagine seeing these things for the first time. Imagine never having seen a living creature and then watching a bear walk from the forest. A body built from trillions of cells. A skeleton growing from genetic instructions. A heart beating without conscious command. Blood carrying oxygen. Lungs exchanging gases. Eyes transforming light into signals. A brain interpreting the world. Muscles converting chemical energy into movement. A nose analyzing molecules floating through the air. A digestive system transforming berries, fish, insects, and plants into the materials needed to keep the entire organism alive. And all of these systems work simultaneously, every second, day and night, year after year. That is what we casually call a bear. Perhaps the word has become too small for the reality it describes. The creature and the creator. The Bible repeatedly invites human beings to look at creation, not merely to use it, to look at it, to consider it, to learn from it, to recognize something beyond ourselves. Psalm 19 begins with the words, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands." But perhaps we could also look downward, into the forest, at the river, at the tracks in the snow, at a mother bear guiding her cubs, at an animal emerging from a den after winter. Creation does not speak with a human voice, yet for a believer, it can point beyond itself. The bear does not preach, it does not understand theology, it does not know that we are studying its physiology, and yet its existence can make us stop and wonder, not because every detail has an easy explanation, not because nature is always gentle, it isn't. The wild can be beautiful and dangerous at the same time. Animals die. Predators kill. Winters are harsh. Life can be difficult. But even within that difficult world, we see extraordinary resilience, extraordinary relationships, extraordinary complexity, and extraordinary beauty. Imagine one final scene. It is evening. The sun is disappearing behind a mountain forest. Cold air moves between the trees. The forest is becoming dark. Somewhere in the distance, branches move, and a bear steps quietly into view. For a few seconds, it stands still. It lifts its head. The nose moves. It is detecting things you cannot smell, hearing things you may not hear, reading a world you cannot read. Perhaps it recognizes another animal, perhaps water, perhaps food, perhaps danger. Then it begins walking, one step, then another. Its paws press into the earth, and soon it disappears again between the trees. The entire encounter may last only seconds, but think about everything that disappeared into that forest. A heart capable of slowing dramatically through winter, a body capable of surviving months of scarcity, a brain filled with memories of places you have never seen, a nose reading invisible information carried by the wind, muscles capable of extraordinary strength, instincts inherited through countless generations, a living story moving silently through the trees. The bear does not know your name, and you may never see that particular animal again, but perhaps you will never look at a bear in quite the same way, because now you know that beneath the familiar image is something far more extraordinary, and perhaps the greatest tragedy would be to live surrounded by wonders, and become so accustomed to them that we stop wondering. We do not need to worship creation. Creation is not God, but creation can turn our attention toward God. The beauty of a painting can make us think of the painter. The architecture of a building can make us think about the architect. A piece of music can make us wonder about the mind of the composer. And for the believer, the living world can awaken a similar question. What does the creation reveal about its creator? When we see the strength of the bear, we can remember that strength did not originate with the bear. When we see its intelligence, we can remember that the bear did not write the instructions from which its brain developed. When we see a mother protecting her cubs, we can recognize tenderness existing inside a creature capable of enormous power. When we see an animal enter the darkness of winter and emerge again into spring, We are reminded of the astonishing resilience woven into life. And perhaps that is why the bear is so much more than a symbol of power. It is a reminder that strength and gentleness can exist together, that survival requires wisdom as well as power, that patience can be as important as speed, that preparation matters before difficult seasons come, that a mother protecting something small can reveal a greater kind of strength than domination, that every creature is part of a world more interconnected than we can see, and above all that we live surrounded by wonders we did not create. Tonight, somewhere on this earth, a bear will walk beneath the stars, another will sleep beneath trees, a mother will lie beside her cubs, a polar bear will move across ice, a panda will pull bamboo toward its mouth, a bear beside a river may wait for a fish. None of them will know that human beings are thinking about them. They will simply continue doing what bears have done generation after generation, living, searching, protecting, surviving, following rhythms written deep within their bodies. And perhaps the next time we look into the wild, we should not ask only, what can this animal do? Perhaps we should ask, what have I been looking at my entire life without truly seeing? Because sometimes the greatest evidence of wonder is not hidden somewhere far beyond the stars. Sometimes it walks quietly through a forest, leaves footprints in the snow, protects its young, sleeps through the winter, and disappears again between the trees. The bear is magnificent, but the bear is still only the creature. And if the creature can fill us with this much wonder, how much greater must be the one who gave life to creation itself. So look closely, stay curious, never allow familiarity to destroy wonder. And when creation leaves you speechless, remember the Creator. How many are your works, Lord? In wisdom you made them, all the earth is full of your creatures. Psalm 104:24. And perhaps that is the deepest lesson the bear can leave us with. The more carefully we look at creation, the more reasons we find to stand in awe of its Creator.